Hello and welcome to another Pinkbike podcast. I'm Mike Kasmer, and today I've got Matt Beer and Stefan Pelletier with me. And Stefan was on a podcast before, but we realized we never actually introduced you. We didn't tell people who you are. You just appeared. And
That's
I
right.
think we should let people know who you are because you're a newer edition of the Pinkbike cast of characters. Your current title is, what do we call you? Interim content manager? Is that accurate?
Yeah, I'm acting Sarah Moore for the time being.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Sarah Moore is out on maternity leave. We needed a good fill-in, and Stefan has stepped in. He already went to Sea Otter, so you might have seen some of his content there. But yeah, see people who don't know who you are. What were you doing before this?
I have been in and around the bike industry for a long time. I worked, as a bike shop grom when I was 14, and then fell in love with it and just tried anything to stay in the bike industry, and turned it into a job, I guess. But yeah, I worked at Rocky briefly, actually kind of around when Matt was there. Shout out to Matt.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was at Forbidden the last 4 years. So yeah, it's been fun.
Yeah, and you're based out in Cumberland, BC, which is on Vancouver Island, for people who don't know. And I was just out there the other day. I'm pretty convinced that you're the mayor of that town because I saw you cruising around like on your little moped scooter, like cruising around, and I saw you fixing the dirt jumps. And I think that you're the mayor. Is that right? You the mayor?
I'm not the mayor, but maybe one day. I don't have time. I'm too busy doing content,
Yeah.
Content and Pinkbike. But yeah, no, it's sweet. And yeah, the scooter, I just picked up that sweet little scooter, so that's been fun to rip around on.
Yeah,
what is it again? I think it's like an 84 Yamaha Riva 125.
Whoa.
It goes pretty good. I got it going 90 kilometers an hour the other day. So
that's pretty quick. Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
Do you need a license for that, or is that below do you need plates or anything?
Yeah, it's plated.
Do you need a motorcycle license? I guess that's what I meant.
Yeah, you do. Anything over 50 cc, you need a license. So yeah, it's kind of legit, I guess.
Yeah. Nice. Let's see. Well, talking about your bike history, I guess you said shop ground. What kind of ride and like what do you do for normal fun bike riding? What kind of bikes you ride?
Yeah, I grew up like a dirt jumper kid, and I grew up in Calgary, riding skate parks and dirt jumps. So a lot of that I used to do kind of like the slopestyle circuit, I guess, back in the day. Now I do a lot more trail riding, but still a lot of dirt jumping. But yeah, I'd definitely say I prefer riding like bike parks and downhill and jumps over like big missions. Like not really a type 2 fun guy, I would say, but I'll do the odd big mission, but try to get airborne.
Yeah. You're picking the chairlift over the climb to the top every time.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
I guess, well, you might be our only slope styler at the moment. Max Barron has some tricks, but what's your best slope style trick you can do?
Like today? Like to this
What's the best trick? No, best trick you've ever done. Yeah, and then we can bring it back to today. But what's the best trick you've ever done as a slope styler?
Oh, God. Trying to make me... Oh, God, I don't know. Flip whip, 3-whip. That was probably my peak.
That's pretty good.
That's pretty legit.
That's one more flip and one more whip than I've ever done. So
yeah, I don't... I can feel my age, though. I'm turning 31 actually tomorrow.
You're so old.
So it'll be like 2 days ago by the time this podcast comes out. So yeah, I'm getting old, man. I don't know if I can still do that stuff, but I'll try.
Yeah.
That's why I'm working on the dirt jumps.
Yeah. Can you still flip? I think there's people that try to flip each year, like to maintain their...
Yeah. I keep the flips going. I try to anyway.
Just casually. Yeah. It's no big deal. Just flip. It's cool. Yeah. That's awesome.
Oh, God.
No, that's good. I mean, that's like the new crop of riders, I feel like, in general across the board. I feel like the younger riders all have like a bigger bag of like tricks they can do or just baseline mountain bike skills.
Yeah.
Like, I think today there's probably more people in the world that can backflip or spin a mountain bike than there ever has been before.
Yeah, for sure. And I feel like even like all the race kids, I feel like they're crazy bags of tricks too. Like you don't think about it, and then you see them post some random like dirt jump clips and they're 3-ing and flipping and like yeah. So I feel like the kids these days are more well-rounded than like we were back in the day.
Yeah, no, it's pretty cool. Yeah, because I mean, I remember it was a big deal that like Menard could backflip, and everyone was like, "Whoa!" But now you have like Asa and like Kate Edwards, and those like Kate is ridiculous. Like, yeah.
No, I think a lot of those guys could like, I think they could like hold their own on any set of dirt jumps, and like,
low key cross training. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I mean, I do think dirt jumping and like pump track in general is like such a good bike control skill developer. Like I feel like there are a lot of riders that I don't think ride dirt jump bikes at all. But I think it's a really important like skill building tool. And you can tell if someone rides a lot of dirt jump bikes, like they ride differently on a trail bike or a downhill bike, and they have like crazy good bike control. So I think it's a good skill to have.
Yeah, no, totally. Even like pump tracks too. Like I find if I go to the pump track a little bit and then I go on the trails the next day or whatever, I do like, I feel like I'm a better rider, even just from like one pump track session, which I don't go nearly as much as I should, but yeah.
Well, Matt Beers is pretty handy on the dirt jump bike.
Yeah. I like to keep my feet and hands on these days, but you know, I can get through a couple sets, maybe not to your level, but
I don't know. We were trying to convince Brian, Matt and I, we were trying to convince him to let us do a dirt jump field test, and he said absolutely not. So
yeah, no, we're not doing a dirt jump field test, but
yeah, I think we were looking for an excuse to get paid to dirt jump.
Yeah, we could think of something. You guys can all come. Yeah, I mean, we have I guess the Squamish dirt jumps are good now, right? Didn't they get rebuilt recently?
there's a couple sets. Yeah. I only have a 20, so like a BMX, so I'm kind of scared to ride downhill jumps on those, but
yeah. No, we can come down to Bellingham. We get Taj down here. Bring your 20, and then Taj has been dirt jumping a little bit, and I keep saying that I should. I went once so far, but yeah, we could get out. It'd be fun.
Cool.
Cool.
I mean, the Cumberland jumps are also running great. So
yeah, those look good. They look nice.
Yeah.
Let's see. What else should we tell people about you, Stefan? Let's see. What's your favorite food? We'll do a bunch of random ones.
Yeah. I love shawarma, chicken shawarma.
Nice.
It's like Calgary has like the best shawarma in Canada at least. And it's like, I don't know. It's so good. It's like Mediterranean, like kebab wraps, I guess. But yeah, they're just so good in Calgary, and I grew up on that. So it's like $12 and you get so much food. So the value, the flavors. I'm a shawarma guy.
Nice. For favorite riding area that you've ever been to? Put you on the spot.
Yeah, probably New Zealand. I spent some time down in Queenstown, and just like between the bike park, Gorge Road, and all the like pedal trails out there, like it's just unreal. Like riding all in a really small area. I think Queenstown is probably my top for sure.
Yeah, I haven't been to Queenstown yet. I've been to other places in New Zealand, but I need to go back.
Matt, you've been, cool.
Yeah, it's pretty premium. Like for every discipline, like you said, it's top notch. Unreal views, awesome weather, cool terrain, and rad people as well. So
all the trails there just work so well at that bike park too. It's crazy.
Yeah. I thought you might have said Golden, but I guess that's just for like downhill riding. So
Golden is unreal. I mean, I really like riding my bike.
Yeah,
it's hard to like pick one over the other. I like I pretty much like riding my bike anywhere. So
I feel like I saw a teaser recently that they're going to do another version of that Tour de Yana video should be coming out. Remember those guys? Like the Queenstown crew made like their version of the Tour de Nar. I don't know if you've caught that.
Yeah,
it was like crazy, but I think the next one should be coming really soon. So we'll have to check that out because they do some
for sure.
The last one was very, very, very gnarly. So excited to see what they did this time around.
They're crazy.
Well, all right, we'll leave that at that. We'll pester you with more questions in the future, but just kind of wanted to let people know that you're going to be on these podcasts and you're around, and people will see you this year. And if they have questions for you, they could even call in and ask questions to you, just specific for you, Stefan questions,
dirt jump questions.
Totally.
Happy to be here.
Yeah, what chainstay length do I need for my dirt jumper? What shock tune do I need for my slopestyle bike? Yeah.
I guess it's also worth mentioning you're also doing a little bit of tech as well, right? Like you've done a couple bike first rides.
I got to test out that Norco Site VLT. That was sweet. I got another test coming out, not this week, but the week after. So that'll be exciting. I don't know how much I can tease of it, but it's a downhill bike. Am I allowed to say that? Yeah,
you can say it's a downhill bike. Yeah. So we've got, and also, I guess people don't know your height either. You're on the taller side, so you're kind of filling out the taller, bigger rider side of our crew at the moment.
Yeah, I'm like 6'3", so
It's like you, and we got you, Daario, and Sprat are holding it down for the tall guys out there. And,
I didn't know Daario was that tall.
Yeah, I think he's 6'2". Basically, he does.
Yeah. I just mean like when I met him in person, I didn't realize he I don't know, on the internet. I didn't think he'd be that tall.
He's shorter on the internet. Yeah, he does tend to. He prefers a little bit smaller bike. I think like he rides maybe a large or some XL. Like it just kind of depends. So, but yeah, he is.
I
quite
actually
tall.
do too. Yeah, I did all the big like size 4s or XLs, and I've kind of actually gone down. I mostly ride larges now. I think it's just more fun, and maybe my like dirt jump background. Yeah, it just makes it like a bit more fun to ride for me, anyway. So
easier to tell.
Yeah, exactly. To help in those downhill bikes. Cool. Well, I guess we could go over some of the most recent stuff that happened. We had an IXS Cup over the weekend, and kind of downhill racers are starting to tune up for the season. So we're starting to see some of the little bits of tech that they're pulling up. Everybody, if you're a World Cup racer, off season starts and you just start getting right into testing and trying to get your setup dialed before the first World Cup of the year. Because once the World Cup season starts, most riders aren't actually tinkering around that much. You pretty set in their ways. I guess Matt, as the only former World Cup racer here, were you kind of that way, or did you tweak your settings much during the season, or were you the same way, just try to get it dialed in the off season, then just kind of like run it for most of the season?
I guess I didn't have the luxury of such in-depth products. I was just kind of given or presented an opportunity to ride a certain bike, and it conveniently stayed the same through like sort of my 4-year short career. And so I didn't do a lot of tweaking, but I did try a couple different shock tunes or shock setups. And I would say from race to race, it was more subtle changes in terms of tire pressure and some suspension settings, but not really much in terms of bike. Like I never went to like a different size frame or changed the bar height much or anything like that. So kept it pretty stock. And I think that holds true for most World Cup racers. They kind of know where they feel comfy. And then if that comfort goes away on a track, then they kind of start searching, but it's within, arm's reach of their setup. They're not going in any wild directions at a race. It would just feel too foreign, I think.
What World Cups have you done? Maybe this is common knowledge, or you've talked about it before, but I don't know.
No, it was ages ago. It was mainly through 2011 through 2015, with the peak in the middle. I did 2 full seasons, but Val de Sol, Mount St. Anne, Wyndham, Fort William, kind of a few of the staples, and then some one-off ones in Europe.
Yeah. What was your favorite track that you rode in the World Cup circuit?
St. Anne was really cool because it was so fast and raw, and home crowd as well. Yeah, it was cool to race there. But Val de Sol as well, because not that I dislike pedaling, but it was just really a true form and test of the bike. Like you just had to hang on and pick good lines and have your setup dialed. So
that one looks crazy.
Yeah. And then this past weekend, the IXS Cup was at Fort William, which Fort William's not on the World Cup circuit this year for the first time in, I think, forever. So it's kind of but it's kind of nice to see that it's still getting used, and it's a good place to test bikes because the track is brutal and it's super long. It's just full of weirdest looking rocks. And, when you watch it on video, it doesn't really translate to how rough that track is. It's like, I don't even know. It's like riding down just exploded bedrock for a long section of it. So, did you notice anything, Matt, as far as setup goes when you're scrolling through our tech articles? Anything standing out that people are experimenting with?
I think most riders now, like even besides pros, are moving to those mass dampers and some maybe even added weight. Like for Fort William, I could see benefits of tacking on a few extra grams below the bottom bracket just to, sort of solidify the bike and add some, lower the center of gravity basically, kind of give you that e-bike effect where it's grounded more. But still, lots of chain dampers and just things to calm the bike down. Even some rev grips, like those ones with the elastomers built into the lock-on. But nothing too crazy. I mean, this is still early. Like we haven't, people aren't showing all their cards, like from the top factory teams. And there's usually like 1 or 2 crazy privateer inventions or something that somebody brings to the table. So it'd be cool to see what transpires for the rest of the season.
Yeah, totally. Kind of now, I feel like Fort William would be a great race to try to make your bike as quiet as possible. Because if you can keep it quiet in the upper like motorway stuff, then you're pretty good for the rest of the season if it's not making a racket. And that's where those chain dampers come in to play, I think. And yeah, I mean, personally, if my bike's quiet, I feel so much better on it, even if it's just a mental thing. It's
I would
nice
go as far as to say if my bike's not quiet, it feels terrible.
Yeah, I mean, it can definitely, yeah, like
It plays on your mind.
If something's rattling, I broke my bottle cage on my trail bike and I went for a ride this weekend, and like it wasn't fully broken, it still held a bottle, but it kind of rattled, and like my entire bike just felt terrible. I was like, I can't handle this noise. Maybe I'm very sensitive to it, but I think it makes such a difference to have a quiet bike.
Yeah, totally. I'm in the same boat. Like, I just don't like noise. I've been chasing some chain slap on a bike I'm riding and just like doing everything to try to quiet it down. It's just like, come on, be quiet. But yeah, so yeah, I think that's one thing we're seeing. And then those tuned mass dampers, we have there will be a video and a test of the tuned mass damper coming up pretty soon in the near future. Hopefully the next couple of weeks, if not. Yeah, I'd say in the next couple of weeks.
Did you test that?
No, Seb Stott and Jesse May did.
Cool.
They went out and they did some back-to-back laps, and they even made a dummy one so you couldn't tell which was which, flopping back and forth, just in order to try to really tell if it made a difference, whether it's a placebo or it's doing something. So I won't spoil the results, but it seemed like they had a fun time just kind of checking it out.
That's cool.
On the track. So yeah, and I think it's for downhill, it's one of those things, you might as well experiment with it, because we've come to such a time where bikes are so good, and if you can make it calmer with just something pretty simple like that, you might as well.
You can shave like 100th of a second, it can make a difference.
Yeah, totally. That could be between first and, I mean, the podium, with only 3 spots in the podium this year, like, it's even tighter. You can't, if you get 4th place, you're not on the podium anymore. So you have to, those seconds matter even more. Cool. Well, IXS
maybe
Cup.
We should
we
do
also
it.
had the, sorry, Matt.
I was gonna say maybe we should do like a top 5 recognition, like after every round.
Well, I think, we kind of have been for the World Cup, for the XC World Cups already. Ed's been putting in the top 5 results instead of just top 3. And then I saw Nino and someone else kind of rushed the podium at one of the World Cups. They just got on there as well. And they got fined, I think it was like 600 francs or something. They got fined for getting on the podium, basically. They tried to make it a 5-person podium. So.
600 francs, that's a lot of Canadian dollars.
It was a lot. Yeah, it was more like, for those guys, maybe not that much for Nino, but like if you're a privateer, you'd probably you might have like eaten away all your prize money by trying to stand up in 4th place. I don't know, it seems like a silly little thing. Like, I'm not sure how I feel about it. I kind of like when there's 5, because it's such a small sport. You might as well give people recognition, but I don't know. How deep do you want it to go, Stefan? 3 or 5?
I think 5 is cool. I don't know. It's nice to give recognition to more riders, and it's a really tough sport. Like, I feel like, especially mountain biking, it's like, if you're not on the podium, people might not really see what you got up to, or like, you're not really, it's like, it's important to be in that spotlight if you're trying to like be that racer athlete. So I think it'd be good to have 5, but I don't know if they're trying to make it like F1, I guess.
I know, but I think F1, the amount of money in F1 is a lot different. Like, there's billions in F1, and there's like not as much. Yeah, the rider's salary for like, Verstappen's rider salary could probably pay all of the riders, and both men and women for World Cup, and probably still have money left over. Yeah.
Nice. We mentioned F1. We're good.
Yeah, we're good now. People, well, tuned mass dampers are F1 related, so they got banned in F1. So that's our 2 F1 mentions. Yeah. How about you, Matt? You want 3 or 5 on the podium?
I know people would be upset to break the mold, but there's only 3 medals, which, I definitely don't want to discredit anybody's efforts. I think there's some way to meet in the middle, maybe. Like
4.
That would be the middle. We can make like another colored metal. We can make some like what other metal, like a steel one and like a aluminum. We can go deeper.
Just a lump of coal.
Yeah. I guess
like a top 10 recap or something in the highlight video. I mean, they kind of do it already. But
I'm not sure. We'll see how it goes this year. But I feel like if they stick with 3 in a few years, people just forget and they'll be like, remember the old days? There used to be 5, but. We'll see how it goes. But that does, we might as well do a little shameless plug that the Pinkbike Fantasy has started. So if you haven't built your team yet, you have 20 days left or something, I think. Maybe even less than that until the first World Cup in Poland. So build your team up, and then you can win prizes if you live in the right country. I think some countries can't win prizes, but
Did you build your teams out, guys?
No, not yet.
No, I haven't.
I will. It gets pretty competitive. Yeah, this will be your first year in the Pinkbike Fantasy League, Stefan. So you should build yours. It's pretty good.
I've always done it. I've been like a Pinkbike Fantasy doer.
No, but you can be our
years.
office. You can be in the office team.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you can compete against.
I always felt like I had to do good because I was like the sports marketing guy. So I was like, fuck it. Sorry, I swore. Bleep that out. But yeah, I was like, I need to get this right because otherwise that's like supposed to be what I'm good at my job. So
yeah, well, it's like it works out pretty well for the Pinkbike one because we have Ed Sprat, for people that are listening, he's the guy that puts up all the World Cup results and he does all the race analysis things. So I think he has so many stats in his head that he tends to do pretty well. So he's like the World Cup whisperer. If you need some tips, like hit up Ed, and he's the one that knows what's going on like to the millisecond. Yeah, cool.
It is tough too with that the pricing, dynamic pricing. It makes it really interesting because like you really do have to. You can pick some really good riders, but then you've got to get some good educated guesses on some of the lower downfield, and you can get really lucky. Like some of the rounds last year, like you get kind of someone a bit further down, and they have a great weekend, and you do great. So it makes it really fun, I think.
Yeah, it totally makes you need to keep paying attention. I know people are frustrated about it, but it seems like it's getting fine-tuned, and like for behind the scenes, Ed is working super hard to make it as good as possible. Like it's not trying to screw anyone over. So
and they lowered the max that they lowered like the max that a rider can their salary can be. So I think it's $750 now instead of it almost got up to like $1 million. So you should be able to get kind of more top riders and then still have a mix of sort of up and comers or wild cards.
Yeah, should be good. It's coming up. What else do we have? Well, I think that's kind of news this week. I'm excited for more racing to start, so it's cool to see it's starting to kick off. The Enduro World Series, the first stop of that comes up pretty soon too, and then after that Poland. So we're getting there. There was some racing in Squamish this past weekend also. I think I saw Jesse Melamed doing crazy things. So if you haven't had a chance to look at that, you just go to Jesse's Instagram and see him almost dying, but not dying because he's Jesse. And that's good.
That race is crazy. That Squamish Enduro is like, it's got to be one of the most competitive Enduro races. Like the field is stacked. It is like World Cup level.
Yeah.
Like, the amount Did you check it out at all, Matt?
We actually, a friend and I who weren't racing, we freshened up the lines on the blind stage.
Oh, nice.
Oh, you did that.
Yeah.
Cool. Nice work. That's good.
I heard it was running great. So
it was
good work.
Premium. Yeah.
So
kudos to the trail builders for that. They revived an old trail called Power Spart. If you have ridden that or want to check it out, it's great work up there. But definitely an early stage, super long, and same with some of the other ones. They were, like you said, Squamish, sort of a prestigious enduro race, and there's some gnarly stuff, like not too technical just to ride sometimes, but at pace. If you check out some of the highlights throughout Instagram and stuff, there's some wild scenes going on out there.
Yeah, a lot of those rollers.
I was just gonna say, hopefully there's a good recap video. I'm sure there will be, but it's crazy.
Yeah, because most of those things aren't designed for like racing, especially the rock rolls, where normally you just roll to try to like make the transition at the bottom of the roll smooth. But instead, if you go too fast, your front wheel just goes in the air and you're just like double bouncing down those lines.
Exactly.
Yeah,
it's cool. It's a cool event though. Those organizers do like a great job. I went last year and it's like such a sweet vibe, and they do such a good job. So I think that's like the poster child of what an enduro can be. It's like such a rad event.
Yeah, I know. I think for like there's always so much doom and gloom around mountain biking and just racing and that, but I think the grassroots or even just more like bigger local races, that's where it's at. Like those are the fun ones where you can go out and heckle your buddies or race or just like gets everybody involved. Because like here, I live down in Bellingham, and we've got a good we have a Wednesday. It's called the Whatcom World Cup. It's just your Wednesday race. It costs like $20, and they sell out. They get like 200 people on a Wednesday night, and you just do basically like one little stage, and then your timing's pretty instant, and you get a burger at the end. It's like that kind of stuff. That's the racing that I like doing, just because you see everybody. It's kind of like it's competitive, but it's not. It is really competitive, but it's not as serious, I wouldn't say. And it doesn't cost, $200 or $500 or whatever some races cost these days.
Yeah, for sure.
Cool. I guess we should probably get into some reader questions. I think we've got a few. If people do want to send in more questions, the link will be in the show description, so you can always give us a call, or you can just write your questions in the comments, and we'll also look at those. We have a producer now too. We didn't introduce him because you can't actually hear him, but his name's Eric, and he's going to hopefully make this show go even smoother, or just go smoothly. Yeah, so he's going to play us some questions coming up. Eric, if you want to play the first question.
Hey, Pinkbike. I'm curious how much of a difference specific shock tunes make for your everyday rider. I have a Patrol that I bumped up to the 170 travel with a coil shock that I think is off of like an Evil e-bike. And I was doing some research on it, and I'm just curious how much of a difference it would make if I got the shock tuned specifically for the bike, or how to go about doing that, or if it's just you sort of ride it and decide that you want more range on the compression or rebound, etc. I'm not super familiar with it, so any information you can give me on that would be great. Thanks.
That question was from Riley. So, yeah. You want to tackle this one, Matt?
Yeah, sure. So, yeah, sounds like he's on the right track in recognizing that there are different shock tunes for different bikes, and, you know, realizing that is step one. But it's not always the case that, you know, different bikes use different shock tunes. There are possibly some crossover there, but that's usually when you have a bike that's of the same suspension type, so VPP or DW or whatever you have. But it is worth looking that up, and that can be found usually through a code that's written on the shock, and then going to that shock manufacturer's website, and that will show you the details. You could also hit up customer service of said bike brand and ask them what shock tune they recommend for that bike, and then you could bring it to a service center and get that tuned. And to go a little further, it's definitely worth doing that because some bikes have different leverage ratios, and the way that the wheel rate is acting upon the shock, it's going to change how fast the shock is, or sorry, how things are moving in the shock, how the oil's moving, and it might not be enough. It could be too fast for some. So there's definitely a way to hash out which shock tune works best for which bike, and referencing that code with the manufacturers is the recommended way to do that, I would say. Have you guys experimented with, you know, using the wrong shock tune on
we had a whole video about it.
Yeah.
When Henry and I went out.
I would add to that and say I definitely at least try to be close to what the engineers of those bike companies spend a lot of time and effort to make sure those shocks are working well with their specific kinematics. So, I mean, you might get a shock that'll feel okay, but you could also get a shock that feels really not good, and it could make your bike ride bad. So
Just
simple.
Exactly. Yeah, starting with the codes is the easiest, and you can even tell, you know, if it's recommended that you have a low compression tune and you have a high compression tune. It'll be things like that. So if you just type that code in Fox or Rock Shock, I think you said you had a Fox Shock. So go on their website, and sometimes you might need a little more translation of it will tell you the code, but they don't make it quite as easy to figure out what the codes mean. But if you just chat with Fox and with, let's see, what bike? On the Patrol. Yeah, if you hit up Transition, their customer service can tell you the recommended shock tune. You can compare the one that you have and kind of go from there. And even just riding it though, there's a chance you might have enough range that you can make it feel totally fine without the exact correct shock tune, but it's worth knowing what you should have or what's recommended. Yeah, hopefully that helps. And then, I guess like you were saying, riding bikes with the wrong shock tune, we kind of had that with that Rocky Mountain earlier this year where Henry and I did some back and forth and tried different ones. And there is a difference. Like it does make a difference in how that bike, how it rides. So it's worth taking the time to try to get it dialed in. All right, well, let's go to our next question.
Hey guys, quick question here. Riding with gloves or no gloves? I tried both. My hands sweat too much to not ride with gloves. Why do so many people ride without gloves now?
I like it. Short to the point.
That was a quick question.
Yeah, that was a 20-second question from Rob. I guess we could do a quick poll of the room. What do you wear, Matt? Gloves, no gloves?
I'm usually a glove guy for two reasons. One, it adds a layer of a barrier against cutting your hands. I've also seen or heard of some instances where riders have crashed on slick rock without gloves, and they've really injured themselves, like wrists and all their nasty stuff I won't get into. But so adds a layer of protection. And then two, I think in some cases, for me at least, it helps reduce arm fatigue. I don't know why, but maybe some sort of friction, like it adds, like this guy said he can't ride without sweating, and that creates he can't ride gloveless because he sweats and doesn't have the grip, and maybe that lets you hold on less tightly, so you're not not
because
as hard.
if you have your sweaty hands, you're gonna hold on tighter, and so then you might get more tired. So that's a good theory. How about you, Stefan? Gloves or no gloves?
I ride in gloves most of the time, especially like the winter when it's cold. I probably ride more with gloves because of a temperature thing. I do actually like the feeling of just like my hands on the grip. I feel like I have a bit more like dexterity or control sometimes. But I do get like sore palms. So yeah, I don't know. It depends. If I'm dirt jumping or whatever, I don't want gloves. Or if I'm riding more kind of jumpy stuff, it gives me a bit more control, I think, without gloves. But anything else, I'm wearing gloves.
Yeah, I'm in the middle.
You?
I don't wear gloves for climbing, and I just put them on for the descents. It just like my hands feel like they get sweaty, and I don't really like the feel of gloves too much, like in general. But I do feel like I'm in the same boat as you, Matt. Like I know that going downhill, I've seen too many people crash without gloves. It just wrecks your hands. And if I do ride downhill too much without gloves, I feel like I crash more. But it's probably like, I don't know. It's like
Some
one of those
correlation.
like superstition things. But yeah, I tend to wear gloves super thin, like the thinnest gloves I can find. But I think like with the sweat thing, like this guy is alluding to, it's hard to hold on if your hands are sweaty. So yeah, but I think the people that don't wear gloves, some of them never used them. Some people you'll see them putting like dirt on their hands and rubbing their hands, and it's definitely we were talking about New Zealand before. I think New Zealand has a glove shortage, because maybe even pad shortage, because everyone in New Zealand doesn't wear pads or gloves. At least what I found, there's the ratio of gloves to no gloves in New Zealand seems skewed towards the no glove side.
The no knee pads is kind of crazy when you're hitting like giant jumps and stuff. But
yeah, like Remy Morton wears like cutoff shorts, a Liat brace, and a full face helmet, and that's it. yeah.
I heard someone told me it was like, I don't know if this is like actually what Remy said, but it was like when he's hitting those 100-foot jumps or 90-foot jumps, it's like, what's a little knee pad gonna do? So maybe. You know,
there's only a little bit of skin there.
Yeah.
So it's going to do a lot.
I know.
Yeah. I mean, if you crash on a 100-foot jump, you're probably not worried about your road rash that much. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. But
anyways,
yeah, I think it's kind of thing. Personal preference, and wear gloves. Yeah. But yeah, if you can try my method, put them in your pocket for climbing and on for descending. I don't know. And then there's so many options for gloves too, but I think most people prefer like no padding it up, like the thinnest part on your hand possible. Like I can't stand gloves with extra stuff.
What do you do in the winter? Do you have like some heavier duty gloves in the winter?
No, I do the same. I just don't. I just pretend it's not cold, and it doesn't get that cold around. It's like around freezing, but if it's below freezing, I might have to put some like a thicker glove. But I usually just kind of like power through it, and then my hands seem fine. I don't know. It sort of works, but I don't have. I know a lot of people have like poor circulation and stuff, but I can just like think warm thoughts, and then my hands do okay. Yeah.
I'm going to try that out next time, and maybe everyone else can. Yeah, everyone try the warm. Warm
I did one winter. I made that like, I took like little, sorry, I'm blanking, like the athletic wristbands, like the little sweatbands on your wrist. And then I cut it and then I put a hand warmer in it. And that way, like it would warm the blood that was going to my hand, so I could keep wearing thin gloves. But then it actually worked. It's kind of silly, but yeah, that's
pretty smart. Yeah. I was gonna say you could just wear like full mittens climbing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and then you're really warm and take them off and descend.
Get those pogies, the ones that kind of like go attached to your bikes. They're always on there. They're like clipless pedals for your hands.
Yeah. We should all start mountain biking in bar mitts.
Those are kind of scary because they're like clipless for your hands.
Yeah, you can't really get out, and then that also means it's really cold. I'm going skiing if it's that cold out. Like
fair.
Yeah. All right, I think we got another question. Let's see what's next.
Hey, Pinkbike. This is Blake from Colorado. I live in a small ski town, and unfortunately, the only bike shop I trust is closing, so I don't have many options close by. Not the biggest deal. I can do most things myself except for wheel building. So my question is, I'm wondering if you all build your own wheels, and if so, do you have any tips on how to dive in? Is it really an art more than a science? Obviously, I need a truing stand, tension gauge, etc. I guess my goal is here to be able to replace broken spokes and replace a rim on my mullet wheel and possibly a hub on my downhill rear wheel. Thanks.
All right.
Good questions.
Blake. Yeah. I'll take this one to start, but I think these days I don't. It's rare that I build wheels, but mostly just because I've got so many that are in to be tested. So I don't really have to build up wheels anymore. But in the past, working in shops, I built a ton of wheels. I always used to like building my own wheels. There was that kind of like meditative thing, and it feels nice to know that you made the wheel. It's a handy skill to have, and I don't think that, I would say sometimes it gets hyped up as some magical, mystical art, like he said. And I don't know if it's art or science, but it's not that hard. I guess we'll put it to that. It's not that hard. You only have a few spokes. You got one hub. There's only a few ways to actually lace it up. And so yeah, it's closer to science. But I would recommend Sprant's The Art of Wheel Building. That's kind of like the classic book that everybody should have and own. It's got some really cool stuff in there. And there is a really good detailed step-by-step. At this point, I'm sure there's some YouTube videos that you could learn as well. But for the basic things that he was asking about, as far as like replacing a spoke and even lacing a rim over, that's even easier than building a full new wheel. Like lacing the rim, you can just tape it to your old rim and then swap the spokes over. And then spokes, if you get lucky, sometimes you don't even need to take the cassette off to replace a spoke. But yeah, I think it's useful, but not totally necessary these days with so many good pre-built wheel sets. But how about you guys?
I love building wheels. I don't do it often either, but it's super, like you said, it's like really satisfying work, and it takes a couple of hours, but like you just kind of zone out and get into it. Yeah, for most of the stuff, like if you're just changing a rim, super easy, like you said. I'd say I haven't looked, but I'm sure there's like a million YouTube videos on how to do it and great tutorials. I'm sure with the shop closing, you'll still be able to get a lot of stuff. Do look out for like usually use like linseed oil or some sort of thread prep to make sure the nipples don't come undone. That's pretty annoying. If you don't do that step, you could have to tension your wheels a lot. So just make sure your nipples are prepped and have at it, have fun. I mean, like you can't really do like that much damage. Like if you have it slightly out of true or slightly not round, like you can fine tune it later. It's not like once you do it, you can't change it again. So yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. The book, I remember that the book title was, I actually have it. It's The Bicycle Wheel. It's as simple as that. I thought it was The Art of Wheel Building, but I was wrong. The Bicycle Wheel by Sprat. This is the book that you should get.
There you go.
Yeah, that's a good one. And then
good coffee table reading.
Yeah. It's just kind of interesting. It's been around forever, but just the basics of building like a good, different wheel patterns and stuff. But I think in most cases, 3-cross, J-bend, that's just makes you the nicest wheel. They're like the easiest to do. Yeah. How about you, Matt?
Yeah, I've built lots of wheels in my bike shop years. Just learned from a friend who is more mechanically inclined. He's built his own plane, built his own boat, so he's pretty hands-on. And he knows the science behind the wheels. So yeah, I won't claim that I'm any fantastic wheel builder, but I can get the job done. Like back in the days racing, I'd spent many a nights swapping wheels and rims over. So yeah, I can get her done. I built one maybe about 2 weeks ago, and it's holding strong still. So yeah, just like Stefan said, follow the instructions per rim manufacturer. Like some spokes and nipples don't use linseed oil if they're like the ProLock nipples from DT Swiss, but then they have other components that are necessary. So yeah, just make sure you read the instructions, take your time, and yeah, do a course or read a book and have fun with it.
Yeah, getting the spoke length right is always important too. Like find a good spoke calculator, just because that's the worst. So you go start building the wheel and you realize the spokes are too long or you're not getting the tensions right. That's the worst. I used to work
I
at a
will
shop
say if you're doing oh, sorry.
I used to work at a shop where we did the spoke calculations, like everything manually, and we had this big sheet that I don't know who used to make it, but it was like a paper spoke calculator. So you have to kind of like follow all these steps in the big.
Oh yeah,
I can't remember who made it. Yeah, so like, it worked well, but it was like, because it was accurate, but I just remember that felt like very archaic, but it was really kind of nice because you didn't have to worry about internet or anything. It's like you could even put
the spoke cutter was always sick too. Using the spoke cutter.
We had a Phil Wood spoke cutter at a shop I worked at. But
yeah, that was just such a, I don't know, I loved that machine. It was like so satisfying. And
I feel like ours always broke. We had some ham-fisted mechanics that I think would always mess it up, and you'd go to use it and it would just like not work. It should work because it's a very simple, precise machine, but we had some people that
was finicky. I do remember we'd have issues, but like when it worked, it worked good.
Yeah. this.
But I was also going to add, it is good. Like, if you're building a full new wheel, it's always good to get all new spokes if you can. Like, you don't, especially if the wheel's a bit older, you don't want to reuse the spokes and nipples too many times over. But yeah, a couple times is fine.
Yeah, a couple. Yeah, like I'd say that if once you, I'd say you can get like 2. It just kind of depends, but I mean, especially nipples.
Yeah.
If you use like aluminum nipples, they just start getting rounded out or mushy. But if you use brass nipples, I would definitely recommend brass nipples if you're building your own, just because they seem like they stay the right shape longer. Yeah, hopefully that helps. I think we can have one more. There's a question that I didn't even listen to yet. Some of these I do full curtain pull. I sometimes listen to these questions ahead of time, but there's one I didn't listen to. It's only like 11 seconds long, and the caller's name is Dick. So hopefully he's not calling just to like say bad words, but let's just play it blind and see if it works out.
What's the best piece of riding technique advice you've ever received, or something you think a lot of people would benefit from hearing? Thanks.
Oh, nice. That's a good one. I thought he was just going to like call us idiots or something.
That was great.
Yeah, perfect.
I got one. I got one that my brother used to tell me when I was a Grom. He's like my older brother. It was, don't think, just do. Like, sometimes I feel like you can look at stuff for way too long, you get in your head. Sometimes it's good to just like try to turn the brain off and, like, you know, assuming you have the skill, and just trust yourself and go for it.
Yeah, that's a good one. I feel like that could get some people into trouble though. If you're like a beginner and the coach is like, don't think, just do it. That might not work. But yeah, but there is something to be said about, being able to kind of turn your, like, just get into it and do it. How about you, Matt?
I'm kind of torn because, one goes towards going faster, and the other's, it's still going faster. So anyways, I would say look further down the trail. Yeah, it make everything easier. You can just, I don't know, take it in. Time slows down a little bit. You forget about all the little details that you're scared about and just focus on the big stuff. How about you,
totally.
Mike?
Yeah, mine's actually the same one. You stole mine, but it's not an uncommon one. But but it's the same exact, like, years ago. I mean, probably like maybe 10 or 12 years ago, I was riding with Adam Craig, who used to ride for Giant, and he kind of just said something about like eyes up, look ahead. And it was like, I've known that, but if you look further ahead than you think you need to be looking, it does make a difference. And even now I'll consciously be like, try to lift my chin up and get my eyes up higher to look further down the trail. Cause like, as you get tired or kind of like zone out, at least me, I naturally kind of start looking down, and that's not how you go faster. So yeah, I'm with you, Matt. Like, look further ahead. And you can even practice it on like a trail that, just try to see like spot further ahead. And I think the best riders are looking like a mile down the trail. I'm pretty sure Amory is like looking at the finish line. Like, that's how he's doing it. But it is one of those super simple things to do that helps.
Yeah, and I could add that, that's relative to the speed you're going. So if you're only going 10K an hour, you don't need to look, 2 corners ahead.
Right.
But the faster you go, the further ahead you look. And if you're trying to go faster as like a habit, or, practicing that skill, just kind of adjust where you normally look. Like, think about it and don't try to ride faster. Just look further ahead, ride in a comfort zone and look further ahead, and you'll end up going faster.
Yeah, that's a good one. I'll try to think of other things I think about. I try not to think too much when I'm riding, but sometimes I'll try to like almost like think smooth thoughts. Yeah, exactly. Just kind of like I try to be a smooth rider. So I think almost kind of like getting used to, we were talking about pump tracks before, but kind of like pumping the ground and trying to make it not just smashy. It depends on your riding style, because I definitely have buddies that are just smashers that just go and smash. But I like to try to like make the ground, make it smooth.
Yeah. I got another one I could add in since I stole yours. Sorry.
Nah.
But yeah, going back to being smooth, you could practice braking harder for shorter periods of time. But that doesn't mean like, skidding down the trail. Just like, thinking about your braking zone more. So don't drag your brake, because your wheels are going to get more traction when you're turning if you're not dragging any brake, especially on off cambers or like through like flat corners that aren't burned. So if you think about, again, riding at a moderately comfortable speed and coming into the corner, braking harder and getting off the brake for the corner, and then taking the corner, you'll end up doing it smoother and have more traction. So you'll ultimately go faster. And of course, this is way harder to do in practice than theory, but something you can work on.
Totally, definitely
Smooth
practice
is fast.
Smooth is fast. Yeah. Or slow is fast, fast is slow. What has all the same.
Every time I do a race, I'm always just talking to myself. I'm like, smooth is fast, and I'm just trying to like not monster truck through that, tech sections and try to hit nice lines. So
yeah, that's a good way to do it. Yeah.
Not that I'm like a fast racer at all, but that's what I do when I race.
That's good. Yeah. Hopefully everybody listening, if you don't have any race plans this summer, I recommend doing at least one little race if you haven't, especially if you haven't raced before. I think it's like, I'm not the most competitive person, but I think racing is like a good way to get you out of your comfort zone. So it's the time of year where it's like,
fun.
Just kind of give it a try. It's a good way to improve your skills too, because you kind of think about things differently.
You and all your friends, you all sign up, and then you kind of like do the race, but you more compete with each other for fun. Not don't worry about trying to win the race. Just go have fun.
Yeah. And if you don't have any races, just start your own. Just like have a underground $1 buy-in race, and you just make something on the ground and time it with your cell phones, and you're good. All right. Well, I think that's a wrap. Another edition of the Pinkbike Podcast. Thanks again for everybody that's been leaving your questions. Like I said, keep doing it. We like listening to them, and maybe we need some arguments one of these days, like a good heated battle. So if you have any things you'd like to hear us and the other tech editors battle about, also suggest that to us, and we'll have some good, we'll get some battles, and we'll get some special guests and stuff too in the future. But that's it for now. Thanks for watching and listening, and we'll catch you all next time.